Our next speaker, Lubomila Jordanova, founder and CEO at Plan A Earth, will speak about the benefits of collaboration and how driving change requires more than investment and time. Hi, Lubomila, and welcome.
Hi, it's such a pleasure to be here. What an inspiring moment to join. I love the statement, create your own parade. It's so powerful.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much for joining. I know you've been very busy working on different projects and help us on actually saving the planet. And as you love to tell, there is no plan B, right? we don't have time resources for that. I will leave the stage to you, and please enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So today I would like to tell a bit more about my own story in terms of deciding to fight climate change and give up my work in finance and kind of derailing from the traditional path that was well defined by the focus of my education and my professional experience. I'm going to share some slides, and I would love to tell you the story with some more visuals. So the year is 2017. I am in the moment of excitement because I'm going to be going on a surfing trip for the first time, and I've never surfed before. And essentially what happens is that instead of seeing these beaches that you would assume you would be seeing, I end up seeing this. This is Morocco, and this is the place which quite often gathers a lot of people for the fact that it has really fitting nature setting for surfers. Well, obviously this is not the kind of site you would expect to see on your holiday. I did end up seeing it. And what I ended up doing is what I love to do. I started collecting the trash that I was seeing on the beach. Within less than an hour, I was able to collect 6 pairs of shoes, burned bottles of plastic, glass bottles. There was a lot of plastic bags, of course, construction site material that you can also see here on the photo, plastic pipe, and also pieces of clothing. All these little traces of the human existence were widely available on the beach, and people were able to quite well see traces of history of humans, and humans living their life, enjoying their time, having food, having drinks, building buildings. But it also showed me incredibly disrespectful attitude that all of us, I guess, had and sometimes still have for nature. In a place which was economically benefiting from the natural beauty of Morocco by offering surfing, by offering tourism opportunities, there's very little sign of anyone caring about the fact that nature required to be taken care of. At that point of time, my knowledge on climate change was the size of this green dot that you see on the screen. Incredibly small, very limited. I obviously didn't have opinions about climate change. I had facts that I knew of. I knew that it was a severe issue for society, but I wasn't particularly clear on how humans on day-to-day basis were affecting negatively our planet. So what I ended up doing is what we end up doing quite often these days as humans connected through the internet. I ended up buying a lot of books. I ended up watching a lot of TED videos. I ended up subscribing to pop culture magazines like Wired. I listened to podcasts, and I felt quite shocked because on top of the fact that there was a lot of knowledge out there, there were scientists that were shouting about climate change for decades, there's very little connection between the actual facts that were piling up one day after the other and the choices that companies, individuals were making on day-to-day basis. So as a next step, I decided that it was a good idea to go beyond the scientific sphere and start asking the different stakeholders questions that would give me an opportunity to understand their perspective on the topic and also give me an idea of what kind of actions they were testing or implementing even. I spoke to NGOs, and they told me that they were implementing projects on the ground that were going to reduce the negative effects of climate change. I spoke to businesses, and some of them told me that they didn't even know they had a responsibility in this topic. And I spoke to policymakers, to governors, and they mentioned that they need to implement policies that fight climate change if it is convenient, according to other frameworks that were out there, because climate change was something that was going to be happening in the future. I spoke to individuals that were really concerned, and they said that they are doing changes to their lifestyle. They're buying their own bottles, they have their own coffee mug, so they're trying to reduce the waste that is being created by their own existence. And finally, there was a group of people that was interested in discovering ways in which they can fight climate change, but it was quite unclear on what exactly these actions and ways should be. The next step in my inquisitive journey to educate myself about climate change took me to look at one side of the story, that was statistics about the key stakeholders in the topic. On one hand, there was information about the fact that big companies were not preparing themselves for climate change. On the other hand, there was shocking and really grasp and awe-creating statistic that was saying that there's 75 trillion financial gap for climate change solutions. So for what we had to achieve in terms of addressing effectively the climate change issues, there was not enough resources, or the resources that were there were not allocated to the most pressing issues. And finally, through an investigation that we did in 2017 with my team, we found out that there was a massive underrepresentation of environmental organizations online. The final step that we took was to understand the data. I work with a lot of scientists on my team, and we have been historically looking into a lot of different data sets that cover not only emissions, but also historical and projected weather data, data on stress on flora and fauna, data related to natural disasters, to countries and how they would be facing risk related to climate change, and of course economic factors, because this was somehow correlated with climate change, in the sense that countries that were investing very little in climate change quite often were not able to afford that. Three conclusions came out of all these investigations in 2017. One was that businesses are key to addressing the challenges behind solving climate change. The statistics were more than clear, explaining how climate change was more than one problem. It was a collection of problems. So it required a lot of different stakeholders to get involved. And businesses, as the contributors of more than 70% of emissions on our planet, were the ones that had to be at the prime focus. The second learning was that climate change science had to be at the core, but it was not being used as the source of knowledge and solutions. Even though there was a lot of scientific knowledge out there about the topic, there was very little that was being used on day-to-day basis by companies that were offering sustainability-related business models. And finally, there was the need, and there still is the need, for a collaborative approach to addressing climate change worldwide. Plane is a company that has been working for 3 years with a lot of data to help understand how we can enable this collaboration and how we can empower those that are working hard on addressing the most pressing sustainability-related issues. We've analyzed over 300,000 data points related to wildlife, waste management, sustainable living, oceans, forests, sustainable energy. And through all these learnings, we found out that some of the most pressing issues were either underfunded or were totally not given prominence because they were happening in tiny little nations that were invisible with the naked eye, even on online maps. One of the things that we built with this data was Climate Change Atlas. It's the place where we educate people on what are the climatic issues. It's something that is at the moment hidden, but will be released back in in July. So you'll be able to go on your own country and learn what are the most pressing issues. This effort has been done with the help of a lot of scientific institutes and with a lot of data that they have been kindly offering to us. The second thing that we built was an algorithm that predicts where and how climate change will hit the hardest. Using all these data points, we've been able to pinpoint the most challenged by climate change changes, places on this planet, and the kind of solutions that are needed so that these problems get to be solved. Finally, a few months ago, we released a software that helps companies calculate, monitor, and reduce their emissions. Planet software takes a company on a crash course to essentially enable them within 12 months to reduce their emissions by minimum 50%, helping them not only understand their data, not only prepare for being able to be compliant with environmental reporting, but also be able to learn the actual acts that they need to take based on their data that would allow them to reduce their emissions significantly in a short amount of time. The platform offers monthly carbon monitoring, sustainability action plans, and also offsetting schemes. But going back to the collaboration issue, since the launch in December 2019 of one of our products and then in March of our next product, what we have been able to achieve is that we've served 300 businesses. We have a member community of over 100,000 people that are not only activists, but also individuals, also a lot of people with extensive knowledge on the topic of climate change from the on-the-ground perspective that faces the actual effects of climate change up to the people that are working to create the most effective policies. We work with a lot of NGOs. These NGOs are being supported financially by the events that we organize. They focus on all sorts of issues and are actively working all around the world to be transparent and to be effective with their time and resources in addressing climate change. And finally, the scientists that I mentioned, they have been with us and they've been providing us a lot of depth and understanding and also wisdom in terms of how we should build our product so that it's incredibly aligned with what the scientific knowledge gives us. So the year is 2020 and I have gone on a 3-year journey together with my team to not only learn about climate change, but also understand better how to connect the dots between the issues. We have now built something that allows a lot of different stakeholders to get engaged and also helps them understand how to decipher the different challenging analysis that science offers us and make it useful for the day-to-day that they experience that even maybe not so visible with regards to climate change in some geographies, it's absolutely visible in so many places around the world. So today my knowledge about climate change has increased a bit in comparison to 3 years ago, but what makes it more powerful is that in the meantime, while we've been working hard on learning and developing our knowledge base about climate change, we've also connected with incredible amounts of organizations and people that are deeply committed to the topic of climate change and are concerned about the future of humanity. If my knowledge was sitting by itself, it wouldn't do anything, but together with the knowledge of all these other stakeholders, we're able to achieve a lot. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions. And as we say in Plan A, there's no Plan B for the planet.
Shall we take some questions from the audience?
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's check what is happening. Feel free to ask your questions. We have 5 more minutes here. How to contact you? I'm a climate change advocate from Algeria and so difficult for me to start alone, she's telling.
Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I am available and happy to chat to anyone. Also check out something that we launched a few weeks ago called the Green Technolon. I can put it in the chat here, and then maybe you can add it to the other chat that is on stage. This is where we connect. Maybe I can say a few words about the initiative, Anna, if it's okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
So 4 weeks ago, we decided to put together a group of green companies, and it was phenomenal to see the response. Within 1 month, we have already close to 300 member companies. And the point of this community, the Green Tech Alliance, the website is www.greentech.earth, is to connect green tech companies and from all over the world and give them access to funding opportunity, give them access to media, access to partners, and allow them to understand how they can best collaborate with others. But the main point in our KPI is basically solving as many problems that these founders might have. And anyone, there's no limitations in terms of geography, anyone on this planet is welcome to join. And I'm super happy to see all of you joining if you have projects that are relevant to this.
Absolutely. A question from Paula. What are your milestones?
One of my milestones has been, first of all, to get the first person to join the Planet team. Nathan has been with me. He's my co-founder of such, even though I worked a bit by myself, but he's been an amazing partner in crime, and I don't think I would have been able to achieve so much without him. Another milestone for us was when we won the WeWork Creator Competition, which was, it was the first time in my life that I spoke in front of 3,000 people.
Wow.
And we became, as a young company, one of the 3 companies that won for Europe. And this opened a lot of doors for us. And after that, like, it's all history. It's been one thing after the other. A milestone that is since recently is that we launched the software and we started to work with a lot of incredible businesses and actually have been able to reduce significantly their emissions, actually by 15%, which I'm so proud of. Anyone that has a company and is interested in the topic, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to tell you more about how we do this. And yeah, these are, I guess, the 3 milestones that are really, really important for me and for the Planet journey.
A question from Bogdan. Is there any emerging or digital technologies that you encourage the companies to use in order to reduce their carbon footprint? Maybe any specific solution based on blockchain or IoT?
So we have developed a crash course for sustainability for companies where within 1 year, they need to follow guidelines on how their data, well, basically based on the data that they've given us, we have an understanding what are the worst performing indicators. And based on these worst performing indicators, we suggest activities such as switching your electricity provider, but it could be also engaging certain employees with some policies. But it's really practical and it's an implementation plan step by step. We use machine learning. We don't use IoT or blockchain. If anyone is an expert and is interested in telling us a bit more about the topic, I'm happy to learn. But so far, we have connected to experts from these topics that I mentioned, machine learning and more the climate data science perspective.
Right. Okay, thank you very much, Lubomila. That was super informative and interesting. I think more people and companies should join your mission because it's everyone's problem and everyone's concern, so we can be part of a global solution. I'm wishing you a great day. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Phenomenal experience to be part of this because it's really rare to see so many women at the same place and driven by ambition and belief. We really need more of us to be connecting to one another. Thank you for organizing this, Anna.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.